I just got back from the date from hell. The worst date I have ever been on. So let's get into it. I think I met this guy on Raya, whatever. Long story short, we decided to meet up. We go to John Boy because we're in Chicago. That's where all my friends work. I lost my wallet there last week. I left it there. So we meet there and we have a drink. And he's like, oh, do you want a drink? And I was just like, no, I don't really feel like drinking. I just didn't. And he was like, okay. So he has one shot of Casamigos on the rocks with an orange. And then right before we leave, he has a shot of like Don Julio. Great. I don't care. Whatever. I just didn't want to drink. We get there 5 minutes away. He's hammered. And mind you, when we were like getting a drink, he was like low-key love bombing me. And I'm not stupid. He was like, oh, I would love to take you to my house in Naples. Oh, my sister would love you. Oh, my mom. But I was like, oh, whatever. It's kind of gross. But anyways, we get to dinner. It's this omakase. It's called Sushi by Scratch. They take us in this small room downstairs. And then I did my research. Then they take us to this like bar seating sushi area. As soon as we sit down, we're sitting next to the cutest couple. Shout out to them. It was actually, I don't think they were a couple. It was these two guys, AJ and something else. Love them. I wish I sat next to them because I would have just talked to them all night. I'm like kind of talking to them while he's yelling for the waiter host guy. And he's like, is this where we're eating tonight? I'll leave right now, blah, blah, blah. And I'm so embarrassed. I'm just talking to these guys. And the guy's like, no, just like, wait. This guy's from New York. So whatever. Finally, they move us inside like I already had told him before. So we're inside. Thank God we were at the end of the bar. He is hammered. Like, and he had just gotten off work. So like, what the hell? And he is like yelling the whole time. He's saying the R word. He literally keeps calling the Asian sushi chef kamikaze. I was like, you can't fucking do that, you weirdo. He kept being like, I think the gay guys are staring at me. Bitch, no, they're staring at me. They just complimented my dress. Like, you're not cute. Like, they're not staring at you. Oh my God. He keeps sitting up out of his seat to yell across the, like, these jokes that he thinks are funny. He's like, how was everyone's sushi? To the point, after a while, I just kept having to slam him back in his seat and be like, shut up. I know what you're going to say. Why would I sign up for an omakase 2-hour experience? We had talked before and I was like, yeah, I don't really know him, but I know it's a long experience, but I've never been to an omakase and I really want to go. He is just so uncomfortable. He keeps yelling because people are handing him sushi to eat and he's like, oh, I just put a zin in. Like, of course, when I put a zin in. Thank God I talked to this girl next to me. Shout out to Sophie. Because she's from Tampa and we ended up having a mutual friend. So we ended up talking and he went to the bathroom and I was like, save me, help me. I went to the bathroom twice so that I could try to find a back door. It's the first time in my life that I was like, I will escape out of a back door right now. Like, no questions asked. So it gets to the point of the night, we're paying. 2 hours later, I literally don't know how I made it. So we're going upstairs and he pays for it, whatever. And we start to walk out. The Uber was already called. I was already going home. It had been called the minute I took the bite of my last sushi, my last sushi, not even dessert yet. And he's like, can we step outside and talk for a minute? Mind you, he stumbled up the stairs and fell like into the side of the stairs. Anyways. And I'm like, sure. My Uber's already there. I don't even really care. We go outside and he's like, so like, are we hanging out? And I was like, no. I was like, you will never see me ever again. I was like, you were a lot tonight and I don't want to deal with it. And he started to talk and I literally just got in the Uber and left. It was crazy. He actually just texted me and I saw the words, I'm sorry, like, you're a great girl, blah, blah, blah. And I literally could not give one fuck because it was the worst experience I've ever had. Yeah, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because he's from New York. Is that how New Yorkers are? I don't know. And I have a date tomorrow with this guy. And when I was in the Uber on the phone with my mom, I ended up calling him to just make sure that I still liked him. Complete opposite. Sweet man from Texas. When I called him, he was doing fantasy football with his mom. So cute. I literally told my mom on the phone and my friends, I was like, no amount of money in the entire world could make me date a man like that. I don't care how many houses you have. That just means I have to spend time with you. Not to sound harsh, but you're kind of an asshole. And I hate people that just yell and they yell gross things and they're just, he was just being such a brat too. And he kept yelling things that weren't funny. And he was like, oh, is this Yellowtail? Like, no, that's like, what? That's Wagyu. Like, it was like not, it was a lot. I haven't had a date like that was so bad. Maybe ever. I think tomorrow will be better. It's just Italian with this really nice guy. And high hopes, low expectations for sure. So yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to I feel so much better right now. I just needed to get off my chest. I've been holding it in for hours. So pray for me and my date tomorrow.
Okay, so this is a story time on probably the most diabolical mind-fucking dates I think I've ever been on in my whole 3 years of being single. I'm away in Melbourne at the moment. I'm originally from New South Wales and matched with this guy on Tinder, feeling a bit spontaneous, and just thought, why not go on this little date? Expecting nothing more, just a fun little date. A bit scared that the fact that we'd been talking for maybe a tops of 2 hours and then he was saying that he was on his way to pick me up. He came and picked me up and pulls up in this Tesla looking mum car. And I'm like, okay, I'm a bit confused if it was an Uber or not pulling up. Or just not sure if it was him. Get in the car, really lovely, really nice. We're going to a chill wine bar. And I'm like, okay, slay. And I tried to plan an outfit prior to this. I wasn't really, I don't know, it all happened really quickly. Okay, so we get to the destination. The waitress, super friendly, super lovely, but it's just everyone that worked there, yeah, they all knew this man. So I'm thinking, I'm getting a little slight hint, is this routine? Is this something that he's done a million times before? Anyways, I ordered a glass of wine. Conversations are flowing, conversations are going good. And then all of a sudden he's asking me if I like mind games. If I like mind games and if I like psychology games. Before this though, he also, before or after, that he told me that Jeffrey Dahmer is actually his role model. So I'm like, oh, okay, all right. Anyways, then this man proceeds to tell me to close my eyes and pretend that I'm walking through a field, and then I'm walking through a strawberry field, and then I have to explain how tall the fence is in feet. And I'm sitting there closing my eyes at this end of this bar, drinking wine, imagining that I'm walking through a field and then I pick 6 strawberries off a strawberry bush, and then a farmer catches me, and then I have to explain how the farmer made me feel. Fucking weird shit. But I'm all here for it. I'm yes, I love it. And then he tells me about this book that he has in his car that we're going to be playing these fucking psychology mind games. I'm preparing myself what the fuck this book is. I don't know, it's a bit sketchy. I'm thinking but I've shared my whole location with all my friends. So it's okay. And I've got my live location on, my other friend has my live 360. Anyways, then he tells me to get in the back seat, and I'm thinking, whoa, if this guy thinks he's getting lucky, he's not fucking getting lucky. Get into his back seat, pulls out this book, fucking takes his shoes off, says he's gonna get comfortable. It's positioning himself he's about to fucking give me a therapy fucking chat or something. Ask me these most deepest fucking questions. It's a literal psychology mind fuck book, and is asking me all these fucking deepest fuck questions about my life, and about who I am and how I think and how I process things. Insane, literally insane. Yeah, to be continued.
Let me tell you, well, I'm done. I'm done with the dating pool. I tried it once, and I'm not doing it. Let me tell you what just happened to me. And maybe I'm not mature enough, but y'all tell me. I went on a couple dates with this guy. Very fresh. New dates. The dates are all during the week sometimes, sporadically. Communication's very spotty. To the point we did have a conversation about that. And about intentions. He canceled one of our dates, our scheduled dates, to help a friend. This friend, it's a girl, of course. Friend's a girl, friend has kids. Okay? Help something happen, husband's out of the country. This was last weekend. Cool. I'm oh, okay, cool. Hope everything works out. He's calling me, telling me pretty much, I don't want to tell her business, but she was expecting something and now she no longer has it, if you kind of pick up, but I don't want to say anything. So I'm thinking okay, miscarriage or something, whatever. Let it go. This weekend, same shit. He's over there, and he doesn't just go to help. He stays the night, y'all. He stays the night. So, this weekend, same thing. He goes over there this weekend to help with the kids and how exhausted he is. Very spotty communication. How exhausted he is. It's Saturday right now, okay? It's Saturday. So, I'm all like... So, throughout the conversation, I'm keeping it real short because I got a gut feeling, and I don't ignore my gut feelings. And I was like... And I messaged, I'm like, oh, isn't it your second weekend in a row of helping her? I'm like, where's her husband? Oh, he's out of the country. He's supposed to be coming back Monday or Tuesday. And my gut feeling, it was like pounding. And I'm sitting here, I'm already not messing with this. And it's already a female too. You staying over her house with kids, helping her, all exhausted. And her husband, she's having some emergency. And her husband was out of the country last week and still out of the country. What husband is that? What husband takes his time coming back if there's an emergency? Especially if he knows there's another man in your house taking care of your wife and kids. See, wasn't adding up. And I said it. So I was like, okay. And I was keeping it short. But then I just asked three questions. I was like, I'm not holding shit in. I asked 3 questions. I said, were you ever intimate or had a relationship with this person? Is she in a relationship or married? Because I wanted to make sure. And then the third question was, are these kids yours? He responds, oh, I already told you I don't have kids. I don't know why you keep asking me that. And he's like, 12 years ago, we were in a relationship, but we've managed to stay friends. I really stopped reading there. And I said, oh, no, thank you. I don't have the capacity to do these. And there's just certain boundaries. And I'm not crazy or immature for thinking that, because you got it fucked up if you think that you are going to, like, I don't know what boundaries you think that I have or don't have, or what boundaries you lack, but there's no way ever that this would work if you think that you're not even going over there to help. You're not dropping off groceries. You're not stopping in, watching the kids for 2 hours. No, motherfucker, you're over there 4 days and you're staying the night. That's crazy work. Like, that's not a boundary. Like, guys be fucking crazy, because there's no way in a million years that I would be okay, or anyone would be okay with me as a female staying over a guy's house, helping him and taking care of his kids, and I was in a relationship with him before, staying the night. Like, in that situation right there, I was like, what the fuck is going on? And then, you know how I know that he knows what's up? Because when I said, oh yeah, I don't have the capacity for this, and I kind of like just said, like, I wish you the best, like, but I can't do this. He was like, okay, cool, totally understand. He's like, okay, cool, totally understand. I wish you the best too. I mean it. A motherfucker that responds like that so quickly, he know what he doing. I don't know if you in love with that girl, your ex, or if all of it's a lie and, like, those are your kids, or you guys are together, whatever, and everything's a lie. I don't know which one it is, but I can't do it. And the fact that he responded so calmly, like, no way. No way. Because a motherfucker that wants you and doesn't want any miscommunication or confusion, calling me real quick. Because now you're prioritizing and you're dropping everything, and you're dropping everything for your ex. This isn't just a long, good time friend like you tried to play it out to be. No, it's your ex. You should have led with that. Like, no.
All right, y'all. Fuck it. I'm posting my Todd lore. I saw 2 other girls' videos talking about him and their experiences with him, and then, like, so many girls in their comments saying similar things. So I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna talk. And I've been like, I wanted to make a story time about this when this first happened. This was earlier this year. I have about 100 followers, so nobody was gonna see it, but also I was scared too, and you'll see why at the end, why I was scared to talk about this. I'm still a little nervous too, but fuck it. And I'll also tag the other girls in the descriptions that y'all can go watch their videos too, because their stories are crazy as well. This story takes me about an hour to tell, at least, so I've written things down, made some bullet points, and we're going to try and go through this quickly, so I'm probably going to leave a lot of details out, but just know that this was batshit crazy from start to end. Okay, so I'm not even going to talk about the pre-date phone call that we had, but that was fucking weird. I'm going to skip right to the date because we don't have time. Met up, he was acting kind of weird, like tweaking out a bit as if he was drunk or maybe just really nervous. I don't know. Something was off though. He was really rude to the waiter. Not really rude. He was rude to the waiter though, and that should have been red flag number 1. And it wasn't like blatantly like disrespectful, but he wouldn't make eye contact with him. He was very like
one-word answers, just bad vibes with that. He talked about himself a lot, talked about school a lot, which is whatever. That's how I was asking the questions. That's just how we got the conversation started. First odd comment he made was that he said that he was friends with Odell Beckham Jr. and Saquon Barkley. I call bullshit. He said that he was like, I have a pair of Saquon's jeans. Actually, you would look really good in them because y'all have the same legs. That's an odd thing to say. He then was talking about my earrings, which actually I think were these same ones. He said, I like your earrings. They match the trunk, or they match the wagon. That's what he said. He said, I like your earrings. They match the wagon. And that one's kind of funny. I got to give it to him. He kept saying that I was abandoning him. Like anytime I try to leave throughout the night, he would accuse me of abandoning him. He'd be like, why are you abandoning me? Why are you abandoning me? Do you hate me? I was like, no, I'm just trying to go. And yes, I do kind of hate you at this point. I don't want to be around you. He vaped at the table and asked me if I vaped. I said no, but I used to for a really long time, but I just quit about a year ago. I'm giving him all the like tips and tricks that helped me start or stop vaping. And he's just sitting there quiet, and he looks at me when I finish my whole little spiel, and he goes, how often do you masturbate? Excuse me? Uh-huh. Who asked that? I said, I'm not going to tell you, and I'm going to pretend you didn't ask that question. He also said I might be a sex addict. Not me, him. He said that he might be one. Kind of adds up. He also talked about a lawsuit that he was involved in, which I'm not going to go into, but wasn't good. After all of this, I did still kiss him in the parking lot. He kept trying to get me to go back to his hotel room with him, and I kept saying no. And that's when he would accuse me of abandoning him. But I'm like, no, I'm just trying to get home to my cats. And also, you're kind of freaking me out a bit. But I still did end up kissing him in the parking lot. And as we were kissing, he stuck his hands down my pants, down the back of them, in the middle of the public parking lot, right in front of the Harris Teeter. So that's when I was like, all right, yeah, I'm not seeing this guy again. As if the previous red flags weren't enough, but I'm stupid. So anyways. Oh my God. He also, as we were saying goodbye, he says to me, and at this point, I had told him that I was gonna I'd be willing to meet up with him the next day. I really wasn't, but I was just trying to get him to go away. But he looks at me, he says, and he goes, are we ever gonna have sex? I'm like, brother, I just met you 3 hours ago. And I told him, I texted him before we went on this date because his phone call was giving different vibes. I said to him, if you're just looking to hook up, I'm not your girl, that's fine, no harm, no foul, but it's not gonna be me. So he knew that, but I guess didn't believe it. But yeah, he said, are we ever gonna have sex? So then this is where it gets weird, as if it wasn't weird enough already. He calls me when I get home. I'm thinking he was calling to make sure I got home okay because I told him I'd text him. Me thinking he's gonna be sweet. No, he calls me and asks for the $30 that I owe him for drinks. He was being weird about splitting, not paying for the bill at the end, which I'm very much in the mindset, he initiated the date. He's the man, he should pay. And he was also the one doing the most drinking. He ordered the most drinks, which is fine, but just whatever. So he wanted $30 for my 2 drinks that I had. And I told him, I was like, that's fucking rude and ridiculous, but yeah, you'll get your $30. We're not talking ever again. And he threw a fit. I hung up on him. He starts blowing up my phone with all these crazy ass texts, and he starts calling me again, and I finally answer, and he goes into this whole boohoo sob story about why money is bad for him now and why he needs money and blah, blah, blah. It was a whole thing. And he was like, do you feel bad for me now? I said, no, not really, but I'll give you your $30, but don't talk to me again. And he goes, and I quote, okay, if you make a TikTok about me or any social media, I will fucking sue the fuck out of you. Do you understand? Are you kidding me? So that's why I'm scared of y'all, because I'm not trying to get sued. I can't afford that. I probably left so much. I know that I left so much out, but those were the highlights. The lowlights, but the highlights. Please don't sue me. I can't afford that. Please. And yeah, this happened in Raleigh. I know that people have talked about him in Charleston was the other 2 dates. This happened in Raleigh. So if you're in those 2 areas, just steer clear of the guy. Steer clear of him. Save yourself the trauma. Don't do it. Trust me. Because I haven't been on a date. This happened in January and I haven't been on a date since. So love that for me.
Good morning, everyone. So I am currently single in New York, and all my friends tell me that I need to like make TikToks about my experiences because they're pretty bad. So I'm gonna tell you about my date last night. Basically, this guy, I met him at Pacha. You know, we didn't remember the entire, interaction, but we tried our hardest, and that's what matters. But yeah, so I met him at Pacha, and then I texted him like a picture of us, a selfie that I took that night, and he was like, do you want to go to this restaurant in Hoboken? It's like really good and really hard to get into. I'm like, babe, I went to the 86 in Carbone, like, you need to relax. And then I looked, and it literally had like tables for tonight, not like, it was like 5:30 and like 9:30 on Friday night. I'm like, you need to relax. Like, I don't know. Some people in New Jersey are just very sheltered. I'm like, girl, you don't even know what we have to put up with here as far as waiting in New York. He's like, yeah, let's go. I was like, okay, awesome. That actually works out perfectly because I got my hair done in Hoboken because it's just a little bit cheaper. And I feel like they're a little more attentive and like listen to me, whereas just like taking my money and me spending like $500 is worth it, even though I just got a partial, so it wasn't even 500. But yeah, I went to Salon Gatto. They're so good. I go to Shayla there. She's amazing. And I ended up being accidentally like 45 minutes late because 1, we're not gonna rush my hair. 2, he got there right at 7:15 when they were holding the table because they have a 15-minute grace period. And he was gonna take the train, like, depend on me to be there, but I'm like, I'm not gonna rush my fucking hair appointment, like, for a reservation that you had said that you've had for months and you've kept putting off. And then so I get there, the server, this one guy, because I ended up getting like 30 minutes after him, but again, I was getting my hair done. Like, I can't control that. I'm not gonna like have my hair be fucked up for a couple of months just because this random man that I met briefly, hardly even met once, but he was being pretty nice. But the server there, this smart aleck guy, always a man, he was like, yeah, well, you were late, like, made a comment about it. Like, what? And then he was like, yeah, he's getting the biggest tip. Like, okay, congrats. And I was actually like a little bit like pissed and annoyed, and I was like, I can leave, by the way, if it really bothers you, I can leave. He was like, do you want to leave? And I was like, not really. Would you like me to leave? He's like, you can stay. I was like, that's what I thought. But and then everything's fine. We get whipped ricotta. We're having like good banter and everything. I look amazing, obviously, because I just got a blowout. I had like an outfit on. I did my makeup at my hair appointment. Like, obviously, like, looking amazing and worth the wait. And then he's like, okay, I was saying if you're wearing heels. He did walk on the side of the street, which I always expect a man to do. If they don't, I'll be like, you're supposed to walk on this side, right? Like, even my dad does that. My dad walks on the side of the road. But yeah, so we start going on this little walk after dinner. And we're just like chit-chatting, whatever. I forgot I said something, and he was like, are you Jewish? I was like, no. Why'd you say it like that, though? Because I went to Ohio State. Like, I know a lot of Jewish people, and I don't have like a ton of like close friends that are Jewish, but like a lot of people that like I hang out with and interact with also like are Jewish. Like, I know a lot about the culture and I really like it, and also, why are you saying it like that? You know what I mean? And then I'm like, I have a lot of Jewish friends. I was like, you realize you sound anti-Semitic right now? And he's like, I don't care. Like, I'm not gonna meet your friends. So he's like holding my bag and we're like walking. Obviously, like I'm in shock. Like we're walking like in silence for a little bit. And so I was like, oh, can I have my bag? He's like, yeah. And then I'm like standing on the corner ordering an Uber home, obviously. A $50 Uber to the Upper East Side. My Uber was named Ricky. He had a Suburban, so like it was giving black. I literally ordered Uber X. I think they upgraded me to Comfort because of like Amex benefits or whatever. I get into the Uber and Ricky offers me a water and a charger, but that's not the point. Immediately. Isn't that great though? It was like $50 to the Upper East Side from Hoboken, which is like pretty good. Anyway, but I was waiting on the corner and he's like, oh, are you texting your friends? Like mocking me. I'm like, but also I was like, if I don't, like, I am one, like, I feel unsafe, like, being around someone like that, like, someone who thinks that's just, like, okay to say. Obviously I don't want to be with someone who thinks that way, or one thinks that, but also, like, why would you say that? Like, especially, like, on a first date. But if you even think that way, like, there's something seriously wrong with you. Like, keep in mind, he grew up in, like, South Jersey, lives in Hoboken, what else? Oh, he went to school in, like, Virginia, so I'm like, bro. And basically, I was like, no, I'm getting an Uber, thank you for dinner, but that was disgusting, and then I walked away, because, like, what do you mean? Like, guys, the men here are so horrible, but, and it's like, it doesn't even matter, like, your perspective on the war, like, you cannot be anti-Semitic. I'm sorry, but, like, no. That is just blatantly wrong. So, yeah. It's real. It's real. And I'll tell you on the first date.
This is part 1 of the first date from hell, except it actually happened. For starters, your date is late by 20 minutes. You had to ask him if he needed more time because he left the gym 15 minutes before we agreed upon date time. Upon arrival, he has little to nothing to say about the effort you put in to look good for this date. Upon arrival, he has little to nothing to say, period. You walk in front of him the whole way into the restaurant, so you open the door, you talk to the host. You are taking him out at this point. And the host seats you guys, and you start chatting. And your waitress comes over and says, would you guys like anything to drink other than water? And you say, no, I'm good with water, thank you. And your date, he is staring at the menu as if there's only one brain cell and it's on dinner break. He's going... So he didn't answer the waitress, so you say, no, I think we're good. And as she's walking away, she's a good 5-10 feet away now. He whips around and says, do you need beer? Clutching your pearls, you are a little scared because your date has just ordered a beer as he's on a date with somebody who's 19, even though he's of age. I did know that going in, but I did not know he was going to order a beer. So, your date, he orders his beer. Doesn't say please or thank you to the waitress. You are mortified to even be in public with him. And within 3 minutes of sitting down, he checks his phone 3 times. Like, goes on his phone, not even just checks it. It really makes you feel cared for and attended to. Yeah. Forgot to mention, he flirted with the waitress right in front of me. He asked me, he said, do you know what you want? I said, yeah, do you? And he's like, yeah. So I ordered. And then he was like, the waitress was like, and for you? And he said, what's your favorite thing on the menu? Babes! You're on a date right now. A first one. Go to part 2. This is too long. Part 2 of the date from hell, except it actually happened to me. last week. So also, along with checking his phone,
he's got little to nothing to say. You're carrying this date, you're carrying the conversations, you're asking the questions, while he is looking at you like you're stupid for asking said questions like, do you have any siblings? Because that's so out of left field, I guess, to ask. You guys are chit-chatting it up, as in you are talking to him and he is giving you a couple words at best. And every time you try to crack a joke, because you're really funny, of course, he looks at you like you just tried to explain rocket science to him. Like, what? You might not be the dumbest person in the world, but you better hope the dumbest person in the world doesn't die, because... Ignore that little snot bubble, I'm sick. To provide an example of what the conversation was like with him, you ask him, so, like, this is an hour and a half into the date, mind you, this is a 3-hour marathon date at this one restaurant. You ask him, so, like, what do you like to do in your free time outside of work and working out? And he goes, what do you mean? So he obviously has a really nice personality. It's really sparkling and shining. It's blinding. And then after that, you're talking to him about sports, and he is bragging to you, the Division I long jumper, about his long jump in high school and how it was at least over 20. Babes, So he has one brain cell and it's clocked out. He shakes his head and he hears rocks. And so upon the restaurant closing, you say, let's go. They're trying to close. And he goes, okay. And doesn't move. Orders another beer. 2. And then when you finally get him to leave, because it's 8:45 and they close at 9, he follows you out to your car. And that's when you realize you think he's been trying to figure out how to get you back to his place after this date, this whole time. And so he just stands outside of your car for a couple of minutes, looking at it. Yeah. And then post-date, you text him and say, I don't think the vibes were good. And he said, well, we didn't even talk about anything deep, because you weren't talking. If I was talking to a brick wall, that's why we didn't talk about anything, because you weren't talking. Yay! Let me know if you have any questions or comments or concerns. Peace and love.
So recently I went on what I believe was the worst date of my entire existence. It all started on good old Hinge, which I don't know why I haven't learned my lesson yet with that app. And I matched with this guy, he was cute, he was fit, he was tall. So we get to talking, we're going back and forth, asking each other questions. It's mutual curiosity. And I'm like, wow, could it be a man who is equally good looking and can hold a conversation? So pretty much a few days into talking, he was like, I would love to take you on a really nice fancy dinner date. And, I gave him my availability and I was like, I'm so excited, where do you want to go? And he said, Nobu, which, if you've been on my channel before, you know dates never end well when they take me to Nobu. Part of me felt bad because if you've ever been to a Nobu, you know that it's not cheap. It is pretty expensive. And so I was like, hey, are you sure you want to take me there? Like, it's a little bit expensive. He basically was like, oh, my perfect, beautiful angel princess. Like, I want to spoil you. I really enjoyed talking to you. Like, I want to get to know you over a nice, romantic dinner. So we meet at the restaurant and I take my own car. He takes his own car. He steps out of his vehicle and it's like a movie scene. I'm like, oh my goodness. It's like there's fog. His hair's blowing. Like, he is just so dang beautiful. So we sit down and, he tells me a little bit more about his job because I kind of realized, oh, I don't even really know what this man does, but surely he makes enough to be able to wine and dine me on this first date. Once we get our menus, he is just order whatever you want, drinks, food, I want to spoil you. So he starts talking about his career and he's like, yeah, I've been working on this business for a couple of years. Essentially he was telling me it was a fashion clothing company that he was really passionate about. But it sounds like he just started this out. So I'm like, oh, so that doesn't sound like it's his main source of income. I can't just upright ask him that because it's the first date, So I kind of, work it in and be like, oh, that's so cool. you must work so hard. Like, is that your only gig, or do you do a couple other things? You know, basically was like, oh, well, aside from that, yeah, I'm not really working right now. Like, I just really believe in this company. I believe in the fact that it's going to blow up. So my parents are like fully supporting me right now, you know, and I took my dad's car to this date because I don't have a car right now. I basically like sold everything that I own to like invest in this business. So now I'm a little like, ooh, you know, he starts getting into asking what I do, and I proceed to tell him. And then the thing that gave me the ick about this is he proceeds to say, maybe you can be my sugar mommy until I get a job and I can afford to spoil us both one day. And so the end of the date is fast approaching, thank goodness. And the waitress comes over and is like, how's everything going? And we're like, good. And then he also says that we're ready for the check. And so she goes, okay, awesome. I'm going to go grab it for you and I will be right back. She brings it out and, you know, it's in front of us and I'm like waiting for him to grab his card and, you know, put it down. But he's just kind of like, you know, just looking around, just like scoping out the scene. She ends up eventually coming over being like, hey, are you guys all good? Like, was there something wrong with the check? And he was like, oh, no, we're all good, we're all good. Right after she walks away, equally as confused as I am, he looks at me and goes, hey, so I have a proposition for you. He looks at me and essentially goes, you know, I've really enjoyed my time with you tonight. Like, I really think you're a girl that I could potentially make my girlfriend soon. You know, I want to continue to get to know you. I would appreciate if you could grab the check this time because my business is going to be blowing up like really, really soon. And I'm definitely going to be paying for all the remainder of the dates that we have. So I'm just wondering if like just this once you could grab it because I promise like in the future, I'm totally going to spoil you. I look at this man wide-eyed and then I look down at the check. That check is $250. Whatever chemistry we had during this whole dinner date was just gone. And he got really quiet and he was like, yeah, well, like I said, like I'm like working on my career and my company. Like I don't really have the money for this either. At this point, I just wanted to get out of there so bad. And like, you know what? I am willing to pay half. I will Zelle you half. If you could pay the other half, that would be great. You know, it's 50-50. Are you able to do that? Can you ask your mom for some allowance? You know, he ended up ultimately agreeing, and that was it. The check was paid. The dinner was done. We walk out of Nobu. He's like walking me to my car. I'm getting into my car. I'm like, all right, you know, it was great to see you. And he goes in for a kiss, and I'm like, whoa, you know, 2 hours ago, I would have been so down for a smooch or two. Now he like somehow went from a 10 to a 2. That's pretty much essentially what happened with that guy. I went home, you know, went on my merry way, and I unmatched from him on Hinge. Never spoke to him again, but I still like am trying to make sense of what even happened because he asked me on the date. He said he wanted to spoil me. He suggested the restaurant, and when I said, hey, are you sure that's too expensive? Like, I don't want you paying for that. He was like, no, all good. I want to spoil you. So I'm like, what happened there? All I know is if there's ever a very beautiful man or a very beautiful person in general, there's usually something wrong with them, clearly, is what I have gathered from this. So
this story is kind of funny, but it's also kind of dark. So strap in. So I'm talking to this girl on TikTok, right? And I'm thinking, we're getting on as good friends. It's, hey girl, this, you look so cute, that, love your shoes, blah, blah, blah. We decide we're going to go for a nice dinner and cocktails. And I'm in this nice steakhouse, it's cute, and I'm excited to meet my brand new friend from TikTok. She arrives and she's in this LBD, tight black dress, heels, hair done, face beat. And I'm like, oh, she thinks this is a date. And I'm like, okay, cool, she's cute and I can pivot, I guess. And we're chatting, we're getting on, and she's kind of asking me if I think it's a date, and I'm asking her if she thinks it's a date, and she made it very clear that she thought it was a date. And I was like, I didn't really realize it was a date, but you're cute, like we can vibe. Cocktails are flowing, the food is flowing, and baby girl is getting drunker by the minute. And I know this because sometimes she's looking at me and sometimes she's looking through me and she's telling me all her business. Arguments with her friends who she's fallen out with, family drama, all the tea. It's like every sip of the cocktail is coming out in her words. And I'm having a good time at this point. We're chatting. I'm just listening because I'm listening. I'm like, who is this person? Like, what are you? Anyway, we go to the next venue. And I'm just about to go to the bar and get a drink. And I say to her, what would you like to drink? I'm going to buy you a drink. She grabs my face and licks, but I swear to God, I'm not lying, licks my face from my chin to my forehead. And then grabs me with both hands, kisses me and sticks her tongue in my mouth. Sticks her tongue in my mouth. And I'm like in a daze. I'm shaken up because there was no moment. There was no eyes meeting. There was nothing. And I turn to the bartender and I'm like, I'll have a, and I order our drinks and he's looking at me like, bitch, are you okay? Because it was mad aggressive. I start making excuses. I'm like, oh, she's drunk. Like, I'm a little bit tipsy. So we sit down and we're having a drink. And again, she's backing these drinks and she's getting drunker and drunker and drunker by the minute. But we're still having fun. Like, she's making me laugh. We're chatting. We're getting along. But I'm kind of taken aback by how much of her business she's telling me. I don't really expose my whole life on a first date. That's just not how I roll. So I was just listening. You know, I was taking it in. And we leave that venue, we go for a walk. It's really nice. By the water, there's boats and stuff. And there's this boat where they serve food and they're playing music and stuff, but it's closed. So she's holding my hand, making sure that I don't fall when I go down the steps or whatever. And I'm like, this is cute. This is fun. I mean, she's very drunk, but like she's holding it together-ish for now. Yet again, she tries to grab my face and kiss me. And I'm like, whoa, let's just slow down a second. At this point that she looks me in the eye, takes her hand and grabs me there twice. So I push her off and I'm like, you're drunk. You need to just take a step back. And she's like, sorry, I'm just so into you. I'm so into you. And I'm just like, I'm obviously icked out. I don't feel unsafe necessarily, but I'm just like, that was not okay. But at this point, the Uber arrives. We both get in the Uber. We end up at the next place. It's like quite late at night. It's the only place that's open. And I'm thinking, I should have left. But she's so drunk. I feel like I can't leave her. So we're sat down at the table. I order her some food because I'm trying to sober her up. She's like tearing at the lamb chops. And I was just watching her, mouth open like. Then she looks at me, chops hanging from her teeth. And she's like, could you see yourself in a relationship with me? And I'm looking at this drunk girl with lamb chops hanging from her mouth and I'm thinking, well, it's now or never. And I say, look, I've had a really fun time with you, but I can't really see it. I think that the way that you handled that situation, grabbing me and stuff, I just don't really think we're aligned. I don't remember the exact words I used, but I do remember that I was being extremely kind and extremely careful because I didn't want to hurt her feelings. But she asked me point blank, like, what was I supposed to do? She erupts into absolute hysterics. My girl is sobbing, asking me why does no one want her? This always happens to her. She just wants to be in a relationship. She just wants to be loved. She's got so much love to give. And I'm sitting there in this restaurant and I'm looking around and people are looking at me and I'm like, they're all going to think that I'm brutalizing you or something. Like, just hold it together, will you? And I'm trying to calm her down. I'm like, look, it's okay. I'm trying to get her to breathe. I'm like, it's okay. Like, you know, you're lovely, but I just don't necessarily think that we're aligned. Like, at this point, I'm just like, Kai, you need to get this girl home. You need to skedaddle. I put her in an Uber to her house. And the next day she messaged me and she's like, I had a really good time with you last night. Would you want to meet up again? No.
Let me tell you about my dating horror story. I've been sitting on this for months. So I was telling this story to my friends last weekend and they were like, you have got to make a TikTok about this. So let me just give you a story time of the last date I went on, which was this past February. I have not been on a date since because I might be slightly traumatized. So I matched with this guy on Hinge. And my friends were actually with me when I matched. And they were like, Bailey, just ask him on a date. He seems really cool. And he did. His conversation was great. He was very articulate. I was just like, okay, sure. So I messaged him and I said, hey, do you want to meet at this bar? It's an arcade bar that we have downtown here. And he's like, oh my God, I love that place. Yes, I would love to. Great. Okay, perfect. So then the next day is the date. And like an hour before the date, he texts me, he says, so what are the vibes? What are you wearing? Which I was kind of just like, I've never had a guy ask me that, especially on a date to a bar, but whatever. So I wore all black. And if you guys scroll all the way down to February, you'll see my, it was a first date TikTok where I used the first date sound from Blink-182. So you can see I looked good. Okay. I looked really, really good. And so I just said, oh, I'm wearing all black. I'm wearing a dress and a jacket and combat boots. Okay, cool. So buckle up. Okay. Buckle up. So I get to the date. We meet in the parking lot. First thing he does is go, oh. And I'm just standing there all awkwardly. And he goes, you look like you're going to start a cult. Haha. So right off the bat, I didn't like him, but I drove all the way there and I'm going to get a free drink. So sounds good. So we are walking in and I was like, oh, I haven't been here since they changed locations. And he goes, oh yeah, it's pretty nice in there, except the bartender's a fucking bitch. Strike two. So then we're walking in and he is standing in front of me and he is like going like this behind him, but he's like going like this. And I go, what? And he's like, give me your ID. She's going to ask for it. Okay. I said, well, you could use your words. And he like giggled and I was being totally serious. So I handed my ID. We're waiting for our drinks. And I was like, what are you going to order? And he is like, oh, I don't really drink. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, we could have gone anywhere but a bar. And he's like, no, like I do sometimes. And I was like, okay. So we're still waiting. And he goes, yeah, I just used to be really big into pills. And I'm like, okay. This is all within the first 5 minutes, by the way. So then we finally sit down and he immediately just starts talking. Okay. And he's like, yeah, just so you're aware, like, I'm not really interested in marriage or anything like that. And I was like, okay. I was like, well, this is probably just not going to work because I'd like that to be an option for me someday. And he's like, well, like, I don't want to get married right now. And I'm like, I was not planning on walking down the aisle with you tonight. So, and he like giggled and I was being serious. And then he goes, yeah, I make so much money, like a lot of money. And, she's going to have to sign a prenup. And I just go, ew. And he's like, what? I was like, it's really fucking gross to say to somebody within 10 minutes of meeting them, but okay. So then he goes, yeah, and definitely no kids. Like, no kids. I'm not interested in kids. And I was like, yeah, once again, it's not going to work. By the way, I already knew this wasn't going to work. I didn't like him the second I met him, but I stayed for the plot. Anyway, he was like, yeah, absolutely no kids. And I was like, oh yeah, this isn't going to work because I'd like that to be an option for me too. And he goes, well, just not right now. And I was like, I wasn't planning on getting pregnant by you tonight either. So, and he just giggled again. And I'm just like, okay. Then he goes, yeah, the last time I went on a date here, which red flag. Why are you telling me about your last date you went on? I don't give a fuck. Anyway, the last date I went on here, she got out of her car and she was like way fucking fatter than I expected. Sir, I know you're not fucking saying that to a fat person. Anyway, he said, yeah, she was way fatter than I expected. So I cut the date pretty short and then I blocked her on my way home. I just go, ew. And he's like, what? I was like, you're just kind of fucking gross. And I swear to God, I was saying all this to him. I don't know if his kink was being like shot down, but like he literally was shot down this whole time. Okay, this is getting way too long. I'm going to have to do a part 2. Welcome back to my dating horror story part 2. So at this point, I'm like done. I'm so done. And I texted my friends who happened to be at the bar right next to us. And I said, you need to get me the fuck out of here. Like, I need to leave. This man is the worst man I've ever met in my life. So I told him, I said, hey, my friends are next door. They want to come over and chit chat. You cool with that? And he's like, yeah, I'm fine with that. What? Do they want to like grill me? Do they want to grill me? Do they like want to ask me questions? And I was like, maybe, I don't know. Maybe. So my friends get there and he's like, oh, hey, like, did you want to like ask me questions? Like, did you guys want to grill me? And they're like, I mean, we can. So they did. Their first question was, what are your goals for the next 5 years? And he goes, I don't have any. I go, not one single goal. And he's like, well, I mean, I have lots of money. I have a nice house. I have a nice car. Him and I have the same car, by the way. Mine is just white. His was a burnt orange color, but we have the same car. And I promise you, it's not fancy. Anyway, and so I was icked out way hard by that, but okay. Then they asked like what his favorite kind of music is. And he says he likes like house music, like techno music, stuff like that. And I was like, oh, I don't really listen to a lot of that, but I have some saved like in my playlists. And I was like, my favorite person of all time is Stevie Nicks. And he goes, who's he? Excuse me? Anyway, so I was appalled by that. Then like he's got tattoos everywhere. He's tatted all over the place. And one of my friends was like, oh, I like your tattoos on your hand. And he was like, thanks. And then she saw like a scar and she's like, oh gosh, what's that from? He's like, oh yeah, that's just from when I used to myself. Okay. Then they said, what's the worst thing you've ever done? And he's like, that'd have to be when I had a whole drawn out plan on how I was going to schmurder my ex-girlfriend's ex-boyfriend with a sledgehammer. We all were just like, okay, what? Now let me say, this date has been 3-ish hours. He's gotten me one drink. Okay, but he's got all this money. He's gotten me one drink. And he has not asked me one question about myself. Not one. Not a single question. There were more questions that were asked, but I can't really think of them right now. We were talking about like where we live or whatever. And he was like, oh my God, I can't believe you live there. And I was like, weren't you raised here? And he's like, yeah, but I got out of there. Okay, where'd you go? He went 35 minutes away where pretentious assholes live. So, good for you, buddy boy. So at this point, my friends are over it. They're like, okay, Bailey, we're going to go. Like, we need to go. We'll meet you there. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll see you soon. So they walk out and he pays the tab of our 2 drinks because he only got me one fucking drink this whole 3 hours. And as we're walking out, he like starts his car from inside the bar. And I was like, and it was cold out. And I was like, damn, I wish that I had gotten remote start in my car. And he goes, if you're broke, just say that. Excuse me? I am fucking broke, but that's so fucking rude. So at this point, I'm done. So we walk out to the parking lot and he gives me this awkward side hug thing. And he was a very skinny, short, tatted up man, which is like my bread and butter, baby. I love a skinny man. I don't know why. But my first reaction was to literally go, ooh, God, you are way too fucking bony for me. And he was like, and I was like, yeah, this isn't going to work out. So I walk out to my car and he's like, well, have fun talking shit about me to your friends. And I was like, oh, I will. As soon as I got in my car, I went to the app because I wanted to screenshot a picture of him because I knew everybody was going to ask me what he looked like. And he had blocked me already. Blocked me for that one comment. Baby, you literally said to a fat person that you were disgusted in another fat person. I just had to call you out on your boniness. And then like 5 months later, I saw him on the Are We Dating the Same Guy Facebook page in our surrounding area. And oh my God, the comments are hilarious. I'm fully aware that I shouldn't have stayed 3 hours. But like I said, I stayed for the plot because what in the fuck? So yeah. Dating's going really, really well for me.
How do I find confidence in my body and wearing what I want? So when I was little, my grandma told me that any body part I showed the world besides my hands and face would be burned in Muslim hell, which I think is just like regular hell but in Arabic. Anyways, at that point, I'd already shown the world my legs, arms, and torso, so I figured I might as well just keep displaying them to get my hell's worth. In other words, ladies, there's no turning back.
Hey, gorgeous! Do my makeup with me while I tell you about the worst date I've ever been on. First, we need a candle. Pumpkin spice. Okay, for some context, I met this guy on Snapchat. That was obviously mistake number 1. So he added me and messaged me, and he was like, hey, I think you're really cute. I'd love to take you out on a date. This was a while ago, but I honestly hope he sees it because he needs a little bit of a wake-up call. It was after my breakup and I was just kind of dating for fun, like going on dates with different people. I said yes, but I also told him, I was like, I'm not really looking for a super serious relationship right now. Like, I just got out of a long-term relationship and I'm kind of just dating, like, to see what I like and meet new people. But, like, if it turned into something, then, you know, we'll see where that goes. And he was like, oh. And I was like, oh. This is where it gets weird. He was like, oh, maybe we shouldn't go out then. So I was like, oh, okay. Like, I looked forward to getting to know you a little better. It was basically saying, like, I wasn't trying to make it seem like I didn't like you. I was just trying to set, like, healthy, normal expectations. And then he goes on to be like, hey, like, I'm just, like, really only looking for someone that's, like, serious about me and wants to be with me and wants to actually date me. And, like, if you don't actually want that, then, like, that's fine. I was like, bro, like, I don't know you. Like, we just, like, how do you expect me to make that decision when we haven't even gone out? Like, we've been talking for a day. He was like, yeah, but you already seem, like, checked out of the situation and, like, you don't, like, you aren't interested. I was so confused. I was, like, truly, like, all I wanted to do was express that, like, I didn't want to rush into anything and, like, set good, healthy expectations. At that point, I was just kind of like, okay, whatever, because I'm not gonna chase this random man and, like, force him to go on a date with me. So I just let it be and kind of moved on with my day. But a few hours later, I get a message from him and he's like, hey, I've been thinking about it. I changed my mind. Like, I do actually want to take you out on a date. And then he called me and he was like, hey, I want to take you out tomorrow. Like, we're gonna go rock climbing. Like, this is what we're gonna do. I do actually want to take you out on a date. And I was like, okay, like, what changed? And he was basically like, I just didn't want to throw away this opportunity. I don't know. And maybe it won't work out. Maybe it will. But, like, I shouldn't, like, worry about that right now. I was like, okay, yeah, so literally what I was just saying, and honestly I have no clue why I said yes to go out with him after all of that tomfoolery. He was like, okay, great, we're gonna go rock climbing tomorrow, and I was like, okay, boom. But I didn't want him to pick me up because he's still a stranger, so I was like, I will meet you at the place, which I'm so glad I did. The night before, like, late at night, he calls me and he's like, hey, like, can we just chat? And I was like, yeah, so we just kind of chatted and, like, got to know each other. And then he was like, are we still on for tomorrow? He asked me, like, a bunch of times, are we still on for tomorrow? And I was like, yes, like, so boom, it's the morning of, and I got up at like 7 a.m. for this rock climbing date, and I was actually pretty excited about it. Like, he was being kind of weird, but I hadn't been on a date in a second, and I don't know, it sounded fun. Like, I'd never rock climbed, and so I was excited to do it. And then that morning, he FaceTimed me, like, right before I was gonna leave, and he was like, oh my gosh, you look so pretty, are we still on for our date? And I was like, yes. Like, I don't know how many confirmations this man needed. Like, maybe he'd been, like, ghosted a bunch of times. So boom, I drive like 25 minutes to meet this man at this indoor rock climbing place, and I'm actually pretty hyped on it. Like, I'm excited, even though he was a little weird at first. Anyways, the date is going fine at first. We walk into the indoor climbing place together. It's a little awkward though, like, we're having a hard time making conversation. I have to freaking hurry. But yeah, it's going fine. Like, we're making pretty casual conversation, nothing crazy. Then we start to climb, and that was actually really fun. This guy's like a pro climber. Like, he travels around and does climbing. I get done with like my third climb or whatever, third or fourth climb, and I sit down on the mat next to him. I start talking to him and he's ignoring me. And I don't know what the fuck possessed this man, but this is where things got really weird. Like I said, yeah, he's just ignoring me. Like, I'm asking him more questions about himself. I'm asking him, like, about climbing. I'm asking him, like, which one are you gonna climb next? I'm telling him, like, this is really fun, and he's ignoring me. And at first I'm like, okay, like, he's trying to be funny. He was so blatantly ignoring me and being so rude, and I was like, oh no, period, no. So I told him, I was like, okay, this is so strange. I hope you're okay, but I'm probably gonna go because this is weird. And he was like, fine, like, go, you can go if you want. And I was like, what the actual fuck is going on? He was the one ignoring me. He was like, you can go if you want. And I was like, okay, I don't understand because you're being really fucking weird. Like, you've been ignoring me this for like the last like 10 minutes. He was ignoring me, and so I was like, I felt like you didn't want me here, so I'm gonna leave. And he was like, no, that's not it. So I was like, okay, then what the fuck is it? Like, what would compel you to ignore someone on a first date? He was basically saying, like, I've been complimenting you this whole time and you haven't given me a single compliment this whole time that we've been here, and I've been telling you you're pretty and you haven't said anything to me, and it just feels like you don't want to be here. And I was like, because when I tell you the whole time I was trying to make conversation, and like, I didn't know I had to spam him with compliments. It's true, he was complimenting me a lot, which is really nice, and like occasionally I'd kind of do it back, but this is not a transaction. Like, I don't owe you anything. You asked me out. I was so straight up with him. I was like, that is so weird of you to say. Like, I'm sorry if you felt like I didn't want to be here, but like, I have been making an effort this whole time, and then you started ignoring me. Like, I was getting pissed off at this point because, like, who the fuck do you think you are? Okay, I'm so sorry to have to do this, but go to part 2 because that's when it gets like really freaking insane.